What is going on, everybody? I go by Philly Mike, and this is the Philly Talk Podcast. And today we got a special guest. He's been on here before, and quite frankly, whenever we get him, somehow there's some good stuff to talk about. Last time it was playoffs. This time it's our franchise quarterback getting extended for 5 years. He will be with the Eagles through 2028, a $255 million extension, 179.3 guaranteed, and a no trade clause. How you doing today, Dave?
Mike, I'm doing fine. Thanks for having me. And yeah, it's a good day for the Eagles. It's a good day for Jalen Hurts. It's a great day for Eagles fans. A deal that came together very quickly, sets the market, and the Eagles have their young quarterback going into his fourth NFL season, 24 years of age, locked up through 2028. And now we can move into the draft and not have to answer those questions anymore about Jalen Hurts. So, really great deal, win-win for everyone. So, everyone's very, very happy here at the NovaCare Complex.
Yeah. So, has there been any like I don't want to say like animosity, but I know through the national media we've been waiting to hear about this deal. I know it took a little longer to get the offensive coordinators in here and whatnot, and I know there's a couple quarterbacks: the Joe Burrows, the Justin Herberts, the Lamar Jacksons. Jalen Hurts seemed to be playing it cool. Him and his agent looked really good, at least social media wise. They kept their cool composure. I don't think just listening to Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni, there was ever any doubt between them two and us fans. But from your insight, like, was this deal like just like I feel like they both won from this deal, of course.
Yeah, I mean, look, the season ended on February 12th. I mean, so if you really think about it, what's that been? 2 months since then. So that it takes and a lot happened between then and now. So to get a deal done like that, if that with that enormous number and all the complexities of the contract while free agency is happening, while you're preparing for the draft, while you're hiring new coordinators, I think it's really a remarkable achievement. And again, it happened before Joe Burrow, before Justin Herbert. So likely those deals will be bigger than Jalen Hurts. That's just kind of the way it always works in the NFL. The next deal is always bigger than the previous ones. This one doesn't drag into training camp. It doesn't drag into the season. The players come in here next week for the offseason conditioning program, and the focus can be on football. And I think that's a great thing. So, it, animosity, not at all. I mean, clearly Jalen made it very obvious that he wanted to stay. The Eagles, over and over and over and over, were asked about this, and they made it very clear that they wanted Jalen Hurts to stay. And the two sides hammered out a mega deal that reportedly makes Jalen Hurts the highest paid player in the NFL. And that's unbelievable when you think about where Jalen Hurts started, what happened to him in Alabama, coming into the draft, a second round pick, 4 games in his rookie year, 2020. Convinced a lot of people, yeah, he's got a chance to be a good starter in 2021. This time, 1 year ago, we were all asking the question, you know, is this a do or die year for Jalen Hurts? Well, he did it, had a great 2022, unbelievable Super Bowl, and, now he is the guy for the Philadelphia Eagles. And everyone agrees that he is the right player from a temperament standpoint, a leadership standpoint, a skill standpoint. He's the complete package.
Yeah, I totally agree. I still believe there's more we haven't got to see just because uh, he played a great 2022 season, but this still is, like you said, you mentioned he's 24 years old. His work ethic is bar none. And so I still think there's so many things that he's going to learn and develop along the way. Now, just scoping out, the Twitter sphere and all that, because that's, my job is also not just represent the Eagles, but defend them against the NFC East foes. And, they're talking, the Cowboy fans, the Giant fans, blah, blah, blah. Their biggest thing, and I want to get it from your standpoint, their critique and criticism is we're really giving Jalen Hurts this much faith, this much money, this long of a contract for only 1 year. We haven't seen more. What do you say if you hear an outsider say that?
I mean, I would argue that it was 2 years. Went to the playoffs in 2021. So, what did the Giants do with Daniel Jones? They had 1 year and they just gave him what $30 million.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think there's always a risk here. The numbers are mind boggling, but how can you look at what Jalen Hurts has done and think otherwise? I mean, he's a star and he deserves it. And the Eagles now know from a financial standpoint where they stand with regards to the salary cap and all the resources that they have to spend here, instead of kind of guessing where the numbers are going to fall. Um, I don't think that the Cowboys fans, with the way that they've turned on Dak Prescott, you really ask any of those fans who's the best quarterback in the division, I think everyone would agree that it's Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I totally co-sign that. I just wanted to hear from you because me, I'm gonna give it to him that way times 10, on Twitter or whatnot because it's all just rivalry hate at the end of the day. But Jalen Hurts has done something in such a short time that not many quarterbacks can accomplish, and I think again the no trade clause, gives him the benefit and the faith from the Eagles organization that we're gonna see this contract through. It's up to you if anything else happens. I don't think anything will happen. And again, I heard murmurs, and again, the contract details haven't fully came out. That in 2024 there's going to be a heavy cap hit because Howie's still trying to, these young players that we got, the Devontae Smith, maybe reading up on AJ Brown, the draftees we have drafted last year, this year, next year, that we trying to get the bulk of this cap hit early, maybe the 2024 season. So there's still flexibility and letting Howie be Howie and building these Super Bowl rosters.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have the particulars that I can share about the contract, but rest assured that the Eagles do deals like this, understanding all of the ramifications here, and they don't want to put themselves in a box. And you're right, Devontae Smith is somebody they'd like to sign to a long-term deal at some point. Landon Dickerson is somebody they'd like to sign to a long-term deal at some point to continue building this roster. They just signed last year AJ Brown to that long-term deal. He'll be in the second year of a 4-year contract, so he's got 3 years left, and that'll be great if he can stay healthy and be that productive for 3 more seasons. But the Eagles, I don't think are going to hamstring themselves with this. The salary cap will continue to go up, and who knows, the way the salary cap and these contracts are going, someday very soon, Philly Mike, this deal might look like a bargain. I mean, I don't think anybody in Kansas City is complaining about Patrick Mahomes' deal, one that set an NFL record just a couple of years ago. So the Eagles understand how it all works, what the projected cap will be, what the cap hits are going to be, what kind of flexibility they will have. Clearly, they do not have any intention of making themselves inflexible. That said, got to kill it in the draft, and the Eagles have an opportunity to do that with 2 picks in the top 30. So, really, really exciting time of the year for the Philadelphia Eagles, who, put together an amazing roster in 2022, had just a dominant season until the Super Bowl loss. And you want to repeat that. You want to get to that level again, tying up your quarterback here, locking him in, making sure that he is the guy, that there are no questions for the next 5 seasons. That's a really great first step.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think, as you said, once upon a time when we did give that Wentz contract, he was a top two paid quarterback too. So it's just the way the market is. I'm glad we were able to get to market prior to these other quarterbacks who are going to be closing in on that $50+ million too. And again, I just think it was handled the right way. And you said it for the people who are just jumping in. You can always rewatch the stream. We're about 9 minutes in. The fact that we had, both coordinators gone, we were dealing with a big number of free agents, and we got some key guys back. The Fletch, BG, Kelsey, James
Bradbury.
Bradbury. You go
Yeah.
through the Slay situation where he was kind of on the market for like 2 hours, if that really mattered. So to do all that, finagle all that, give the right money to the people that you need to get back to continue to run to the Super Bowl while finding your coordinators, while locking up a top three quarterback in the game. I think it's a tremendous job by Howie. And again, the Terrell Edmonds, the Rashad Pennies, the Katavius Streets, the Nicholas Morrows, guys that are young, still have upside to their game, and you're coming into a defense, into an organization that a lot of people can thrive in this culture. We've built something that, looks to be from, me looking in and just watching what we've been able to do contract wise and a little bit I know about numbers and this, that, and the third, it looks to be sustainable. And so I'm just very excited already. And every time we get news from Howie Roseman and company, it's good news so far.
Yeah, it's been good. Like, look, there's a lot of questions still about this football team. I think that's fair to say. Losing players like Hargrave and Edwards and White and Johnson and Gardner Johnson and Epps. I mean, there's some areas on the defense where you go, can you upgrade in the draft? So, but for the most part, look, the Eagles are in a reloading situation, not a rebuilding situation. That said, hey, got to kill it in the draft. Got two first round picks. Must take advantage of that, and that's the next priority.
So let's talk a little bit about the draft because it's what 10 days away. Um, Again, Howie Roseman has set himself up to play shoots and ladders if he wants, at least with that first round pick. I know that. I mean, just me looking in, and knowing that Howie does like to make trades. There is that part between round 4, 5, and 6 where we don't have no draft picks. I'm curious to see if Howie's going to move back a little bit with one of these first round picks and maybe accumulate something for the middle rounds because I think next year's covered. We got a boatload of picks with the comp picks that are reported and blah blah blah. But you still feel like BPAs is a good way to go, but you think the defense has, of course, the most work that needs to be done via the draft. You would say, right?
Yeah, I mean, and look, I think everybody has this visualization that how he's going to deal the picks. Well, we don't know what the board's going to look like, and the question is how valuable will that 10th pick be to other teams who want to move up into that spot? If there are no quarterbacks on the board, for example, how valuable is that spot? So I think Howie's open to all of that. We've seen in the past him doing that. I think they'd like to get more draft picks. And when you're trading the 10th pick perhaps and the 30th pick perhaps, you're getting more than fourth and fifth and sixth round draft picks in
Oh yeah,
return.
yeah, yeah.
So I understand that there's that vast wasteland in the draft, but I mean, if those are valuable picks, and I would expect that if the Eagles do move or any team moves in that range, you're getting back second and third round picks in addition to future selections. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, I think the defense does need to be addressed. Clearly, they're counting on Jordan Davis to step up. They're counting on Nakobe Dean to step up, but there are questions about the safety positions. There are questions about the linebacker spots. There are questions about the edge with Brandon Graham here for another year, but also, in his 14th NFL season. So it's a lot of questions, right? And the defense was dominant last year, and I like some of the picks that the signings that they've made. Solid football players who I loved Morrow in Chicago. I thought Street is a really good rotational defensive lineman. I really think Terrell Edmonds, when I met him, he made sure to say,
Carol.
it's not Terrell. It's not Terrell. It's Terrell. So Terrell Edmonds. Justin Evans is a really intriguing player, second round draft pick who was injured and now he's coming back. Greedy Williams, when he came out of LSU, I think everybody expected him to be a star in the NFL. So you hope that you can hit on a couple of those guys for the long term. But at the same time, you do want to fortify your roster and bring in young players and address areas of need, but also just bring in highly talented players. And the Eagles will have an opportunity to do that with two first round picks.
Yeah, and there is like one thing I want to ask you about the draft, but I do want to hit on a point you just said. And this is not taking anything away because when free agency opened, I would have loved to welcome Marcus Epps back. I think from the standpoint that he was a backup, undrafted rookie free agent. He's played tremendous in his time here with the Eagles when asked to. TJ Edwards was a guy who sat behind the likes of Nathan Gary at one time, Alex Singleton, but when he got his opportunity from an undrafted rookie free agent standpoint, played lights out in this defense. Kaiser White was a 1 year rental. We tried, I guess, to get him back, couldn't. But what has me so interested in the guys you named, the Greedy Williams, the Nicholas Morrows, the Terrell Edmonds, is because, they kind of feel the same in a sense that when you have players at the cornerback position, you got the pass rush that we have. I think it's easier to elevate your game. Not easier to elevate your game, but you're going to see more of the upside of these players because of the surrounding company. It's a full team sport. It's not like basketball. There's no one on one defensively, really one on one offensively.
I know
So
what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
I'm
The
interested
Eagles,
to see that.
yeah, the Eagles. I mean, look, that's the hope, right? Like that's you bring in Edmonds and you've got a better pass rush, and he plays better in the deep secondary. Greedy Williams learns from Bradbury and from Slay. New defensive scheme here. He's going to be given a new. I think one thing is a fresh start for a lot of players is really important. And I think in Philadelphia, they are greeted with a very positive environment. This team has had a lot of success, and I think that plays into it. So, but they're not all going to work out, and
True.
you just throw as many darts as you can and hope that a couple of them hit the bullseye. Eagles have had success with 1 year deals in the past. Bradbury is a classic example of a player who came here, 1 year deal, bet on himself, and parlayed that into a big contract. So, that's the role model, that's the path. We'll see how many of them take it. And if a lot of them do, then the Eagles should be right back up there at the top of the heap in the NFC.
Yeah, and knowing Howie, we'll see what this draft provides, and just having a culture as strong as the Eagles, there could always be them one or two players in August who's now willing to take a really team friendly deal because they don't have a home and they realize that this home is better than other homes in the
Mhm.
NFL. So I'm curious to see stuff like that. I heard on the Rich Eisen show, Nadamik and Sue just talk so highly of Jalen Hurts and this Eagles organization, and who knows what he will do with his future time. And so maybe that could be one of Howie's late August gems. But sticking with the draft a little bit, and I got to ask you this because half Eagle Nation is talking about this running back. His name is Bijan Robinson. National media has been stirring it up a little bit. It kind of started from YouTube, but you've heard the national media. The Philly station WIP is like split down the middle. Howie would never draft a running back in the first round, and some people saying that this guy's different. We're in a different um, sequence than other teams in the top 10. It's more of a luxury pick slash a guy who could really just transform this run game, blah, blah, blah. What is your take on Bijan Robinson in
Well,
general?
I mean, look, it's more than just transforming the run game. I'm really high on Rashad Penny. I think Penny will, if he's healthy, will have a huge impact. Different kind of runner, very much, along the lines of like Garrett Blunt, powerful downhill, punishing. Has had injury problems, of course. But Bijan, I mean, what separates him? He's a great, great prospect. He's a great receiver, and you can move him around the offense a lot. That's something that the Eagles haven't done. They couldn't really do that with Miles Sanders. They didn't do it with much with Kenny Gainwell. So I don't doubt at all that a guy like Bijan Robinson could help any offense. And this is a game of offense in the NFL. Um, but look at 10. I'm not sure that you do that. If you drop back and you go to 15 or 16 and he's still there and he's your second or third rated player, well, I mean, then you kind of go, hmm. But I don't think Howie, like I know the narrative and I know the history and I know how he feels, but I've never been struck by Howie as somebody who stays in a box. What is that? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over. I mean, look, the Eagles were interested in Christian McCaffrey years ago, and had he gotten to them, maybe Doug Peterson would have jumped on the table for Christian McCaffrey. But that's the way you have to think about it. You are adding a Christian McCaffrey type of player to your offense. And the question is, can you find one in the first round? Well, yeah, with Bijan Robinson. Can you find one in the second round with Gibbs? Yeah, maybe. Are there others later in the draft? And then here's another question. Who's the last first round star running back to win the Super Bowl? Was Marshawn Lynch a first round pick? I think he was. But it just the
Yeah.
running back position. It's just the value of it has changed so much. The Eagles saw Isaiah Pacheco, right, seventh round pick, lit it up in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I I I don't think the Eagles are going into this saying we are not going to take this or we are. You keep an open mind. I think Howie keeps an open mind, and I think everybody who's watched Bijan Robinson knows that he's an outstanding football player. He's a fine young man. You certainly consider. adding great. You want to add great talent, great players, great fits for your culture. And Bijan Robinson is all of them. Will the Eagles take him? I don't know, but I don't categorically rule out anything with Howie Roseman, with Jeffrey Lurie, with Nick Sirianni.
Yeah, and like I said, years past, I would say no, but I do think we're in a interesting situation. And again, top 10, top 15 pick on a running back, that franchise probably has more holes or needs more help than just a running back. And Bijan's not just a running back, but we're in a situation where we're picking in the top half of the draft, and we're coming off a Super Bowl appearance just because of the wizardry of Howie Roseman in previous drafts being able to accumulate these picks. So that's why I do like, if I've ever would have believed that Howie zigs, like he said a couple times in the combine. And listen, I loved all Howie's little appearances, whether it was at the combine, on the Jason on the on New Heights podcast. Howie is just such a down to earth guy. And when you think of a GM, you think of suit and tie, and Howie's just such a Philly guy. Like, I really look at him like a Philly guy. It's just just a great listen to. I don't know if you heard, you probably definitely listened to it, but and you know Howie more than any of us. So it'll be interesting to say the least. I do
Yeah.
think we're in a situation where he can do so much because of them both picks. And I do like a lot of prospects in the first round. You know, after Bijan Robinson, it goes to a lot of defensive players, which is on the line and stuff like that. One
And
last
look, and let's be honest, that is where the Eagles have been very candid and transparent. They build from the line of scrimmage out. Can't argue with that philosophy. There are a lot of good prospects on the defensive line. There are a lot of great cornerback prospects. So I don't know where the Eagles are going to go here. A lot. I mean, all of it depends on who's moving up to get the quarterbacks. How
correct.
far are those non-quarterback positions going to get pushed down in round one? You know there's going to be a shocker in the first 9 picks. And so the Eagles have to make sure that they have a lot of flexibility and a lot of and are very open-minded about this and go out and get the best player they can, whether that's Bijan Robinson, Gibbs, Nolan Smith, Paris Johnson, whatever, all of the names that you see, Peter Skoronsky, all the names you see associated with the Philadelphia Eagles, um, whoever you pick. And it's not just the first round here. This team needs multiple players. You got to have a really strong draft weekend, and that includes the post-draft period. I mean, look, last year we saw, look, T.J. Edwards, a starter, wasn't drafted. Reed Blankenship started a bunch of games, wasn't drafted. They're over the years, the Hollis Thomases, the Chad Lewises, etc.
Quentin Michael, right? Quentin Michael was
Quinn Michael, yeah, I mean, just really good football players are going to be there after the draft. So that's kind of where you make your bread. Heck, Jason Kelsey was a 6th round draft pick. So I know everybody's focused on 10, everybody's focused on 30. I am too. That's the first night of the draft. I have I'm going to be on the edge of my seat just like everybody else is to find out what Howie does. And I can tell you that probably by then I'll know a couple names that they're really interested in. But it almost doesn't matter because we don't know who's going to go in picks 1 through 9. And I guarantee you there are going to be some shockers.
Well, let me just ask you this. Do you think there's do you think it's more of a scenario that it could happen or not happen, that Jalen Carter fall to 10? Because I know that would make, a lot of Eagle fans happy as well, because we just know what kind of kind of production he had in Georgia. But what do you think
Yeah,
about Jalen Carter?
great talent. I think it would be. Well, I think it'd be hard. I mean, it would probably be very hard to pass on Jalen Carter at 10. Uh, look. I mean, I think the kid expects to go before that. That seems to be the kind of the thinking 10 days out. But he was such a dominant player at Georgia. He's a young man still. Clearly has not had a very good off season here with what happened with the automobile accident and the death and the pro day. So those are variables that you take very seriously. But from a pure talent standpoint, like I think everybody in the non-quarterback division thinks that Jalen Carter is the best player in the draft from a pure football talent standpoint. So we'll see. I mean, I don't expect him to be there at 10, but if he is, man, are the Eagles going to have a really tough decision?
Yeah, I heard when Jalen Carter's agent said that he's not taking no visits outside the top 10, because if he gets to 10, how he's not gonna let that he not it's gonna be like 3 seconds off the clock before how he drops his pick. Just my guess. But Dave, I appreciate you. Hopefully sometime in between the post draft and you know preseason or training camp, we can get you on here again.
Of
You can let us
course.
know a little bit about the new Eagles.
I would love to. I always love it. I appreciate you having me on, and strap it in there, man, because it's going to be a fun draft weekend, and Eagles have a chance to get a whole lot better and reload for 2023 after such a great run and such a hurtful, disappointing, heartbreaking end to Super Bowl 57. Let's get back on it for Super Bowl 58. Make a run.
make a run. Until next time, y'all know what time it is. We out. Peace. Real quick before we get up out of here, I wanted to let him get up out of here because I know he had some stuff to do. Shout out to Dave Spadaro for coming on the channel. Shout out to y'all for being in the chat. Appreciate the love and support. You heard him. Bijan is in the realm of possibilities. For anybody to say it's not 100% a possibility, not at least a possibility, 100% no, I guess is wrong. He's definitely in the building. He's not giving nothing away. But it was interesting. We talked again. If you're just getting in here now, go ahead and rewatch it. We only about 26 minutes in. We talked the whole Jalen Hurts contract. We talked about the heavy cap hit in 2024. So how he could be flexible other years, get guys like Landon Dickerson, Devontae Smith under contract when it comes. Um, just a bunch of stuff. Also, when this is over, at the pinned comment section and in the description, I will drop the link to the print champs. If you haven't seen the Philly Talk podcast, the Philly Talk hats, a shout out to everybody who's already ordered them. We had a bunch of orders come through yesterday. Yesterday was the biggest day of orders. We appreciate it. We got the Kelly Green dad cap and trucker hat. We got the black with Kelly Green writing, the black with white writing. Mine's on the way. Shout out to y'all. Let me read a little bit. Peter Riley with the Bijan in the chat. Rimo said, thanks, Spuds. I'm awake. Are you in the building? Mikey T said, I see them trading back and getting Bijan. He talked about that a little bit. The 803 Hitman said, my prediction, we trade back and pick up extra picks, pick up Robinson. You get two positions out the way in one pick. I wouldn't be mad. Yeah, come in and play some slot receiver. You get a bad showing or two from Quez Watkins. Maybe you give Bijan a little bit more work as it pertains to the slot receiver position. But shout out to everybody in the building. Appreciate the love. Appreciate the support. Um, we gonna have Spuds on in between the draft and what do you call it? Training camp. Until next time, you know what time it is. We out. Peace.